Brendhan Lovegrove, welcome back on the show.
Nice to be here.
You're looking great. You've got a smart jacket on.
Well, yeah, the last time I was on, I had a grey jacket on, and my mum complained. She said I thought I looked relatively homeless.
So you very mysteriously said to me, oh, your life's completely different since the last time we spoke, and I'm really curious.
Well, I think the last time we spoke, we were talking about comedy back in, at that time. I think what I would say is now I think I'm enjoying being a comic and being in the environment of stand-up comedy more than ever.
Serious?
Yeah, because it's just like it's so much more diverse than it ever was, and it's really interesting having done comedy for say 25, nearly 25 years, and now I look at the diversity in some of the comics and the ability and the talent of the comics and a lot of the women that we have, a lot of the people from the trans community, a lot of people from the gay community who are so fantastic. Now I realise for 20 years people were looking at just white dudes doing their thing, and now I see how much it matters, and it's fantastic. And I look after about 10 rooms throughout the country, but 2 of them are raw nights, so for sort of newcomers or people on the verge of pro nights, and so I get to see all the young talent, and it's just fantastic. And
so, how did you know that you wanted to be a comedian?
Well, it's funny that you say, but to be honest with you, now I have to be one because I don't have a plan B, and
you're not skilled for anything else.
That's actually kind of the truth. I don't, it's too late to start a band.
Yeah.
And it's if I was going to be an actor, I would have done something like that by now. And I'm probably a little bit old for university. I was going to go to university when I was about 19, but I decided I have a gap life, and so I just started. So I'll just take this life off and see what the next is like.
A gap life.
I love it. Now that is a gag, by the way. If you didn't pick that one, that's.
But like at school, were you just like really naughty and cheeky?
Yeah, I was definitely naughty, but I was also very good at getting away with it. So sort of the gift of the gab, and I think that I'm probably relatively charming in my youth.
You say?
Well, I was back in the days of caning, you see, so they had that option. Oh. They could have whacked me, but I used to get out of that. But I think there wasn't really a lot of stand-up comedy when I begun. It's just when I saw a show one night, my heart bet, and I thought I want to give this a try, and I'm really pleased I did.
How old were you when you did your first gig?
I was 23.
Yeah. And were you nervous then, or were you just...
Absolutely. I was very nervous a month before, extremely nervous a week before, and beside myself on the day.
Right.
And so, but there is a thing just before you go on stage where you go, I have no idea how this is going to go, but I'm just going to go through with it. And fortunately, some of the comics who were on before me were on very bad. And to be honest, I can't remember. But I think there aren't many around from the first sort of 5 rookies nights in Auckland. I think I'm one of the only lasting sort of comics from that time. I started before Mike King and the late Ewan Gilmore, so we're going back a fair way here. But it was just, even on stage, I remember getting my first laugh and thinking I just felt very at home with that.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to do something in the arts, and comedy is especially stand-up, is such a good way to do comedy, because you're by yourself and it's not a collective. So the highs obviously can be very high, but the lows can obviously be very low.
Yeah. So what is it, do you think, that has you, like, it's a 25-year career, other people have given up along the wayside, but not you?
Well, I was lucky enough to get the opportunity early to go to England and sort of and learn my trade there. And so I think the whole London and the English or the UK circuit made me very sharp. So sometimes it's a matter of technique. I was making sure I was being funny constantly. For so gag now, because the comics I was working with were like set up, bang, set up, bang. If that makes any sense, rather than elongating something and then having a big punchline at the end. Yeah. But it really taught me to be funny all the time, so I can make sure that now my audiences are constantly entertained as quickly as possible. Yeah, so
it's been sharp.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I've got a bit of a formula about the way that I write, and also I've got rid of a few things that have made me far more watchable for an audience.
Oh yeah, such as?
Well, I got rid of. I'm still a comic from back in the days when you could pretty much talk about anything. Things that now would genuinely be found offensive by certain members of the public. And I think I probably understand more about why they would be upset by certain things I said in the past. I cringe at some of my old material. Not that because I think it was a necessarily bad gag, but now it's just so untoward or so risque now. Back then it seemed fine, but that it was upsetting people is it sort of upsets me even many years down the line. So I try and avoid that, and I've done it pretty much by just making sure I don't talk about certain subjects that might ignite some offence in somebody. Yeah. I just don't want that.
Do you have to be funny all the time? Like when you're at home and you're loading the dishwasher and you're doing all these things?
No, because there's no money in it. There's no money in the dishwasher. It's this, and I'm quite happy not to be funny when I'm doing that.
So give us an example of some of your new material.
Well, I've been concentrating a little bit, of course, on Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know a lot of people don't like him, but as a comic, I like him because I get writer's block, and I find it very easy to get over my writer's block whenever I sort of watch him. But I had to laugh the other day because he signed a peace agreement with Kim Jong-un, and my daughter came into to my room and went, "Dad, I'm really happy that he signed that peace agreement because, I'm really young and there was a chance of nuclear war. But I think as an older person, we're just really happy that he signed that peace agreement with Kim Jong-un because, I just don't think we want to sit through a whole new series of MASH." You know what I mean? And it's like, I've done that gag a few times, and I quite like it because MASH was the Korean War, obviously. But an American guy came up to me and said, "Were you the comic that talked about the MASH joke?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Do you know that MASH was on TV for 20 years, but the Korean War was only on for 4 years? What does that tell you?" And I had to say, well, what that tells me is that the Korean War wasn't on at 7:30 for half an hour every Thursday. And if it was, it would still be going. But that's one example. So Trump's can sort of, something like that can really ignite your passion or something. And also the other day, I can just get little things off the top of my head because someone came up to me the other night at the Classic, the Comedy Store, and said, and he saw me smoking, and he went, "You shouldn't smoke. Every time you have a cigarette, it takes a week off your life." And I said, "Well, that can't be true because if it was, I would have died when I was 2. And that would have been weird because someone would have gone, 'How did he die?' And someone would have had to have gone, 'Oh, he was a big smoker in his 40s. Right? So, and I'm quite proud of that joke. I think it's wonderful. And it makes me angry that I'm, not a bigger star. But
are you still smoking?
Well, only because of the gag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good.
There's no point in not smoking and then doing that gag. I don't morally feel good. And I'm not a quitter. When I start something, I see it through to the end.
Well, thanks for not quitting. Thanks for not quitting comedy. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
It's been nice to be back. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Brendhan.